Hello and thank you for joining me on this masterclass, this webinar where I'm incredibly passionate to be speaking to you today, and I want to be talking to you about how I feel that you can scale a dream healthcare practice, a dream practice of your very own to 6 figures and beyond, even as a side income. It's something that I feel incredibly passionate about. I think that we are blessed with the skills that allow us to change people's lives, to take people away from pain and towards doing the things that they love to do and even better than they used to do them. And I think this is fantastic. But perhaps what I find frustrating is we haven't been given the skills to actually allow ourselves to be developed professionally in order to use those skills for lots of people and to reward us with what we deserve for these skills. So this is why I want to talk to you about why I was one of those people that pretty much nearly left our industry, as so many do, but I managed not to, and this all really changed when I learned some simple concepts. And that's what I want to talk through on this webinar, to give you content, things that you can go away and look to implement to develop your own dream practice. So what I'm going to do is talk about this building of a machine. And the key thing, the thing that really changed everything for me, was when I stopped trying to be a better sports physio, a better sports therapist, and actually I started to think like a business owner, and I started to understand this concept of systems. And every single business needs to have these 4 key systems, and I'm going to talk about them in context today during this webinar masterclass about how they relate to us as sports injury practitioners. And this is what really allowed me to scale my practice beyond 100,000 and growing as we go. And it's never even been my full-time job. So over the next sort of 45 minutes to an hour, I want to explain to you about what, as I say, this word systems and what it means for us and why you can be using that. And this is going to be packed full of content, guys. So specifically, I want to talk to you about the 4 systems that every business needs to allow them to scale. Now, what I want you to do is stop thinking like the passionate physiotherapist, sports injury therapist, sports massage therapist that you are. That is fantastic. You are phenomenal at those skills. But what we need to do for this is to stop thinking like that and to start thinking like a business owner. And when we start thinking in this way, this is what we start learning, what they didn't teach us when we were at university or college. We were taught, and they're brilliant at teaching us these skills, but then for me, the professional opportunities that awaited weren't enough to fulfill me until I learned these concepts that I'm going to talk to you about now. So quick little bit of housekeeping, guys, and a bit of a bonus. As I said, the webinar is packed with content. I don't want this to be a fluffy webinar where I just give principles and then there will be no mention of spending thousands of pounds at this end of webinar for coaching and courses with me. What I want to be doing is giving you content and actionable tips that has taken me 12 years to learn, things that have taken me this long to truly understand. So what I want you to do is shut down any distractions, and I would recommend having a pen and paper at the ready because there are going to be things that you might want to note down as we go through. And don't forget to hang around to the end, because I do want to give you the opportunity to work with me on your own journey, and for just £1 per day. And so I'll talk about that more at the end. But as I say, we are not talking what is termed high ticket things here. What I want to give you is some content, the things that I've learned about, the things that I've spent over the last decade really building up my knowledge set and being passionate about, in order to help you in doing similar, so that we can keep giving more of our skills to the industry. But make sure that you are ready to learn some concepts, because it will be changing how you think about things. I'm not going to be talking to you about anatomy, or we're not going to be talking about rehabilitation or how to improve a rotator cuff or how to get rid of lower back pain. That isn't this webinar. We are going to be talking about some things that you haven't learned and how you can change your thinking. And as you might have seen already, I am pretty passionate about this stuff. This is stuff that occupies my mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as I say, it's been like that for over a decade now. So I want to get some of these tips across you to help you in your journey. And ultimately what I want to do is make it so that your learning can be condensed into a much smaller time frame. What my passion now is to give to somebody, to give to you the exact thing that I wish I had 12 years ago to save me all those years of learning. So who am I? I should talk a little bit more about that. This guy in your screen that's talking to you, perhaps over enthusiastically at the moment. So my name's John White. I'm a sports injury rehabilitator by trade, but I'm a clinic owner, or multiple clinic owners. So I graduated in 2007, so a good while ago now. And I started the journey of launching a clinic whilst working full time. As I've mentioned, I nearly left the industry. I tried working at sports teams, and I saw other clinics, and then I started my own clinic, but I didn't have any of the skills, so I panicked. I had no clients, I didn't know what to do, so I went into the comfort, when it was offered to me, of some full-time employment. But what I didn't want to do, when I didn't have a clue, but I knew that I didn't want to come out of the industry. I was too passionate. I was still looking to better myself and learn, and wanted to help people. That was what I'd worked hard throughout my education to achieve. And I knew I couldn't just walk away from it and settle for some other form of employment. So it was at that point that I knew that I needed to do things differently, and I needed to learn. And I set about my personal journey, and I set this personal target for me. And I said to myself, one day I want to have a clinic that generates over £100,000 in revenue. Now, I must admit, at that point, I thought in order to achieve that, at some point then I would just move into the clinic full time. But actually, by understanding business and understanding systems, I've managed to achieve this without coming away from my full-time employment as well. So that's what I want to talk about here. So I took this full-time employment, and I would have failed. As I said, I completely would have failed if I tried to stay with my clinic, because I didn't know what I know now, and that would have cost me to fail and then walk away from the industry. So I'm thrilled that I didn't. I'm thrilled that I started learning all these things. I just wish that I could have been able to learn it a lot quicker, and that's what I want to do for you. So little bit more about me was that I became absolutely obsessed with learning. As I mentioned, for me, I just wanted to learn everything I could, and I started trying to take in as much information as I could. I'm a keen runner, so when I was out running, I would have podcasts, and still to this day, I have constant podcasts. I always have a book on the go that is related to developing my business skills. And all of these things that I've learned, as I say, is what I'm going to be talking about as we go through today. And I coined this phrase, or like this phrase, when you're not earning, you are learning. And that was literally a important phrase. When I first heard that, I thought, that is perfect. Anytime that I'm not working is an opportunity that I can be learning. This is what I want to be doing for you today, helping you with some information. And this is really what allowed me to start this journey of being able to build my clinic. And as I mentioned, I then set myself this dream goal to build £100,000 whilst also working full time, or £100,000 revenue clinic whilst working full time. But I would say, even then, this was something done for me. It was just almost a pie in the sky figure. Now, what I would say to somebody now, and what I would say to you, and we'll talk about, is in order to do that, you should set about a plan. How are you going to achieve 100,000? How does it not make it just a pie in the sky figure? But that's what I was doing wrong then. But I set myself this dream goal, and we're going to talk about that as we go through. But as I say, it's all about setting these targets, but actually understanding how you're going to achieve those. So where are we now? Well, here's an image of me with my team. We work across 3 clinics. So here's our 3 clinics, images from our clinics that I've set about. And again, you can find more information about that. But that's my team. So we're a team of 7 set across 3 clinics. And again, these are some of the bits that I don't necessarily like doing, but the whole thing for me is that in this webinar and masterclass today, I want to really open the doors to my business. I don't want it to be fluffy concepts. I want to show you actual things. So in 2019, you can see our revenue at the bottom there was £82,000 in revenue. So I was getting close to this goal. I was excited because I thought finally I might be moving towards this goal. And it was realistic when I looked at our growth patterns for it to come in 2020. And we set off in January fantastically. So again, if we go back to 2019, £82,000, we're doing around £7,000 in revenue a month. And I knew that we needed to up that to 8,000, a little bit over 8,000 in order to achieve this goal. So we set out in January, £11,500. We were flying. Again, when I was comparing this to our targets, we were way ahead of where we needed to be. February, we did 9,000, a shorter month, but still, even in this shorter month, I was ahead of where I needed to be. It was all set for me to be going on and achieving this target in 2020, and then disaster struck. COVID-19 hit us and the unthinkable happened. Something I never suspected would happen is that I shut the doors on all 3 of our clinics on the 21st of March 2020. And that's a date I think I will never forget, because I can remember locking the doors, not exactly knowing when we were going to open them again. However, yes, it was a time of apprehension for me, but I had a lot of business skills. So we did manage to continue to trade, and we traded through our virtual clinic, which was a brand new clinic, but I managed to set that up, get that working, and be treating people all over the world. So I did manage to keep our revenue going during our time of being shut. But we came back at halfway through 2020 when we opened our doors to one of our clinics. So in the second half of June, 2020, we managed to then bring in £4,500 worth of revenue. So I was back on track the first month, the first 2 weeks of being open, knowing that we wanted to be doing about £8,000 just over of revenue. We were hitting that target already for being opening, and that is because we had adopted the systems. We had the systems in place that even being shut for 3 months, we were still managed to fly out the doors as soon as they were open and really get going again. And then to bring it, so July, we then went up to £11,000 in revenue. So we shot up. August went up to 12,000, nearly 13,000 in revenue. September built to over 14,500. So again, the year before we were doing about £7,000 worth of revenue a month. We doubled it in 1 year. October, again, £14,000 worth. And then November, we were £13,000 worth. So we were way ahead of our targets. December, a short month around Christmas, we managed to do nearly £12,000 in revenue in that shorter month. So the result of this was that 2020, even during the year of coronavirus, was the year that we managed to hit our targets. And you can see there, as I say, what I want to do for you guys is not hold anything back, be completely transparent. We did over £112,000 worth in revenue. We'd hit our targets even in the year of coronavirus. So this isn't for me to be, what some could consider bragging. It's not that at all. What I want to do is show you that we have done it, and that it took a bit of time, but by having the systems in place, even in the year when disaster struck, we were able to do this. So let me ask you that question. How helpful would an extra £15,000 worth of revenue be for you each month? What would this allow you to achieve if you had a clinic that could be bringing in £15,000? And again, remember, this is as a side income for me. So this knowledge that we're going to talk about today could help you to start that clinic and start your journey in building towards this. And you can set your own individual goals. It could be £100,000 like mine. It could be £10,000 a year would be really helpful for you. It could be £1 million a year. Whatever you want to do, you can start your journey. No matter what your goals, all of these systems that we're going to talk about in this webinar will apply. It will allow you to target the clients that you want to work with. And again, that's really important. When you're building that dream clinic, I want to help you and give you the skills to go and find the clients you want to work with. Because at the end of the day, that's what appeals to us professionally. And as I say, it will allow you to scale towards 6 figures if you so desire. It may be 4, it may be 5, it may be 7 figures. Whatever it is, the same principles that any business will still apply. And that's what we're going to talk about throughout this webinar masterclass. So why I love it as a side income is that a clinic can create supplementary income to your existing wages, and this allows you to continue with your passion education. Now, what I mean by that is that so many people see it as one or the other. They can either start a clinic, and if that doesn't take off, because starting a clinic from scratch is difficult. You might have to take on big overheads, some rental things, and it takes time for what we call the compound effect to happen for you to build a client base. So people then just walk away from the industry. But what I'm saying is, don't walk away from the industry. Start a side income and continue your passion. You've worked hard for this. You've educated yourself. You've put blood, sweat and tears into this. Don't walk away from the industry. Start the business on the side and adopt the systems that we're going to talk about. And then what it will allow you to do, if you so wish, is to transition when the timing is right, when your clinic has built to a level and you feel that it's at a financial position where you can get rid of any extra jobs that you may have and concentrate solely on your clinic. But it allows you to do that progressively. And that's why I think our skills allow us to have a fantastic side income, because It's a high barrier to entry. Not anybody can just go and start a clinic. You have to have our education and background. So it's great for you to be able to start, but it can go alongside some supplementary income to give you the time to see the effects that we're going to put of the systems that we're going to talk about. However, if you already have a clinic, not a problem at all. You may have started out and doing well, but what would I say if we were saying to you that every single week we get between 15 and 20 new customers and our staff rebook at over 80%? How would this be helping your clinic? So if you're watching this as an already business owner, what I would say to you is the systems that we are going to talk about today has put this in place for my clinic. So my question for you as a business owner is, how helpful would that be? So, as I said, the content which we are going to dive into now, sorry, a short introduction, but I just felt it was important for you to understand a little bit about me. And to, as I say, for me, what I want to do, the whole thing that I want to do is show you exactly what I've done. So what I wanted to show you is the results to date. And as I say, these are growing year on year, but that was our results come the end of 2020. So we are going to talk about the 4 systems that every healthcare practitioner needs in order to scale this clinic to £100,000 without being able to work full-time in the clinic. How do I know that that's possible? Because as I've shown you, hopefully, that's something that at this point I've achieved. So we are going to talk about these 4 systems. Now, every business needs this, no matter what the business. Business is simply a machine. And the question I have for you is, do people like Richard Branson or Bill Gates have more time in their day than you and I? Not at all. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's how we choose to use this. And what these people have done is put the correct systems in place to run billion-dollar companies, but still utilizing their time in the correct way. And this simply would not be possible. You know, Bill Gates could not be running Microsoft, and Richard Branson could not be running Virgin without having these systems. It just simply would not be possible. And that's why it's simply a machine. And we're going to talk about what are the cogs that make up this business machine. So, spoiler alert, the 4 systems right off the bat that any business needs. We need to be able to get people into the door. Once they're into the door, we need to be able to provide the most valuable service that we can. We then need to get people back in to carry on receiving that service. And then we also need some good back-end systems to be understanding the metrics, understanding these numbers of the people that are coming in and how many are coming back and how much they're spending with us. So this is obviously vital for a healthcare practice. You've got to get new people in, you've got to then give them the best service, and you've got to keep them coming back. Okay, and then you need a dashboard to be showing you how effectively all this is working and spot for any trends or anything that you might need to address. But as I say, it's the same for any business. You know, you name it, you think of the business, they need to apply these 4 principles. So that's what we're going to talk about now in more detail. So before we dive into this, I want to dispel some myths. So myth number 1 is that you need a lot of money to start a healthcare clinic. Rubbish, okay? Complete rubbish. We scaled our business to 6 figures without spending a single penny on paid advertising. If you're not sure what paid advertising is, not a problem. We are going to come on and talk about that. But we have not spent a penny on paid advertising to get to where we are. We use basic equipment, so it's not that we have high-end equipment, but what we do provide is value, and we found a way to give people value cheaply. And that's the difference, is that we don't have to spend big to give people value. We want to give them value in other ways, and that's what we really utilize, and that's why people have kept coming to us. But what we do want to achieve is to be maximizing every route that we can to get people into the door. Okay, so we want to understand the ways that we can get people to come to our clinics, and we want to maximize all of these routes. So, second myth, guys, is that you need to be a highly experienced therapist to run a clinic. Again, rubbish. So, it's what we term imposter syndrome. And again, inside of our membership portal, which is something I will talk about at the end, I talk about this because it was something I suffered with hugely, and a lot of fledgling business owners do. And that is that we can't give value to people. Complete rubbish, okay? Really, to be an expert, you need to know more than the person you're talking to. And I guarantee that when it comes to restoring injury, restoring health, getting people back to doing what they do, you will know more than your clients. And therefore, you can be an expert and help them in the ways they need. Your skills and knowledge can be absolutely life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. So it is wrong for you not to share. And this is why I probably seem overly passionate about this topic. But by people walking away from the industry who can actually help people to improve their lives and get the professional fulfillment, hopefully you can see why I get so frustrated by that. And it's just the fact that we're not taught the things that I'm about to teach you now that stop us from doing that. So that's my frustration. So system number one, we're going to talk about the first system we're going to talk about today is getting people in the door. And these are the ways that I see that any business can get somebody in the door. There's word of mouth, there's referral networks, SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, which I'll come on to talk about, social media, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and this concept of paid advertising. So firstly, word of mouth. What do I mean by this? This, in my opinion, will always be the most powerful form of advertising. You know, people always say that word of mouth is so strong, and I completely agree. So therefore, when I talk to other business owners, they don't invest any time in it. They just think that hopefully it will happen naturally. And it will if you're given a good service. But there are so many ways that we can accelerate the power of the word of mouth. So what we do is we look to use automation as well as offering free value to people in order to spread this word of mouth. So, and by this, certain things are so key, like not being afraid to ask people. And again, we do this with automation. So this isn't, for example, that we are saying to people, you know, in an appointment, please go and tell all your friends, is there anyone that you'd like us to ring on your behalf? We're not doing these, what people might feel uncomfortable with or pushy, but what we simply do is we create automations within our business that people may receive an email, they may receive a text message from us, just letting them know that if they have a friend or family member who's suffering with some pain, here's some free ebooks that you may want to send on to them. Here's a free video that may be of interest for anyone you know who's suffering with lower back pain. So it gives people the opportunity to say, those guys that I just went to see that really helped me, here's a video they did about back pain. So many people know someone with back pain. It's just a simple tip to be able to utilize this power of word of mouth. So there's one example of how we do that. Reviews. Reviews are huge for any business, and for me, so underutilized. And I think they are becoming more and more important. And I want to explain why and show you why. So here we see one of our clinics, which is based in Orpington, a Google My Business where we've searched out Physio Orpington. And you'll see here, you'll notice that if you imagine you're on Google, these are what we call the map pack, the first three things that come up that are suggested. Now, my question to you would be, which clinic would you go to out of those three? Now, my hope is the answer would be John W. Sports Injury, which is our clinic, as you may have be aware of or seen. But what we have here is we have over like 40, well, coming on sort of nearly 40 more reviews. And again, this is taken from a while back. We actually have well over 100 reviews now, all 5-star, all about our clinic. So then you've got another provider, a big provider in our area who support all of the NHS. A lot of reviews, and then you've got somebody with no reviews. So this again is the power of word of mouth. Getting people to leave reviews means that it's constantly in a system to help us bringing people in, because anyone who's searching this on Google are going to go straight for us. They're certainly going to go onto our website, which is when we take them on to the next step of the journey. So that's why these power of reviews are so important. So alongside word of mouth, we've got sort of professional referral networks. And I think that's something that any business should have. But particularly when I talk to people looking to start a clinic, you want to be finding people who can refer to you. So establishments that can refer your clients. And in a perfect world, your dream clients. But in my opinion, this is what people do wrong. We pop along to whoever we want to go to, the local gyms, the doctor's surgery perhaps, the local running club, and say, I've opened a clinic, can you send people to me? And they go, oh yeah, fine, yeah, leave us a leaflet and nothing. Because what's in it for them? In truth, there's absolutely no incentive. And I'm not saying about going to them sort of, you know, bribes and backhanders and all this stuff, because that's not what people want either. But what people want is value. So you need to find your referral networks and you need to give them some value, something for them that can be helpful. So we do these in multiple ways. We do talks, Facebook Lives. So we go onto people's social media pages, or we set up Zooms for their members. So we do this for running clubs or gyms, where we give them a chance to have a Q&A session with a sports therapist. So for them, they're seeing value. But what we're doing is being able to get out our brand and get out our expertise and really gain this expert authority, because you don't realize how much value you can bring until you start doing this. But if you're not comfortable with perhaps going to places and giving talks or doing them digitally via Zoom or Facebook Live, then you can create ebooks. So other things that we've done is ebooks. And if you go onto our website, you'll see these. A physio's guide for footballers, youth footballers, managers and coaches. So we approach all of the local football clubs and say, here's a free ebook that you can give to all your managers and coaches. But we know that by getting this book into the managers and coaches' hands, as soon as their players are getting injured, who are they thinking of? So there's our referral networks. So again, online courses is another thing. We have an online course for how to get rid of runner's knee. So again, we go to running clubs and say, would you like to see some videos from our courses about runner's knee? So they can put that on their websites, or they can show that to their runners. But again, their runners are understanding about us. So this is something that we just think is hugely beneficial. So we also have bespoke web pages on our website. So we run a subscribe club model. So anyone who wants to be part of our referral network, we have a web page that they can put on their page that links together, so their members can come on and go and get some free content. So again, we have a whole page for running. So we have ebooks on it about how to train for a marathon, about the common running injuries and how to get over them. We have videos, and this has taken a bit of time to build up, but you could start thinking like this. And even if you give just a small piece of value, so you could outline another thing we've done is a CrossFit ebook that we've taken to CrossFit gyms, and it doesn't have to be too much detail, but it can be simply put together. And then you approach the CrossFit gym and say, here's an ebook. Would you be interested in giving that to your members? Because it shows them how to reduce the risk of injury and to stay training with you. And there's the value that you're giving to them. So another set of people that we look to talk to are personal trainers, because again, we know they're going to be seeing people who might be breaking down, who might be suffering injuries. But I love to be able to go into them and say, hi, I want to help you. That's my first point a lot of the time. They say, well, how can you help me? Well, I can keep people training with you. But what they're doing for me is then sending me clients. So we're both having a win-win relationship, and we have affiliate schemes set up off the back of that. So I hope that's some examples of ways that referral networks can be really important. So sports clubs, gyms, personal trainers, running clubs, these are the people that, for me, I've always felt can provide me with our dream clients. And I mentioned it actually, this giving value. There's one of the ebooks that I mentioned. So there's an ebook that we've put together there, Physio's Guide for Managers, Coaches and Parents of Youth Sport. And that really just goes into warming up, cooling down, how to deliver some first aid things. It goes into what to do if you suspect an injury. So, really simple principles around perhaps using ice in the early stages, or hydration and nutrition, all goes into these things. So it's really easy to put together, but what it does is give them a lot of value and get our brand out there. SEO. Now this stands for search engine optimization. So essentially this is getting to the top of Google. How does Google recognize you when people are searching for you? So where do you rank on Google? It is a complex area. Now, and we could do, I would say, one webinar, but actually it would be a huge course on SEO. And inside our membership portal, it's something that we talk about a lot. But this is so important because again, people are going to be searching for our trades. We want to be coming out on the top. When you do this work, it is work that will benefit you forever. Now, typical SEO results take 3 to 6 months to see. So it's not something that you would do today and then get the results tomorrow, but you then benefit from them from years to come. So I've been working on our SEO for years, but as we'll come on to, we now rank top for so many things. So I'm just getting the benefit of that work that I might have done even years ago now, but it will carry on working for me. constant referrals, but it is so detailed. You need to understand your keywords, your headings, the H123, your meta descriptions, your meta titles. You need to understand the importance of reviews. You need to understand what backlinks are. You need to understand the speed of your website. You want to have blogs that are directing people to your website, and so many other things go into SEO. No one truly knows what are the key ingredients in making a perfect SEO. Not even people at Google apparently knows what goes into their algorithm. Their algorithms take thousands of things into consideration when they then spit out the top ranked websites. But we do know that if we're working all of these things, we will be improving our SEO status. So again, here we want to look at what will our clients be searching. And this is just a video here of me going through some typical Google searches. So what you'll see here, as I say, is me going into Google and just thinking of some of the search terms. So physio Orpington, and there you see us coming up at the top there. So that's that map pack. It brings up those 3 results. I just changed that to physiotherapy Orpington, another thing that people might be looking for. And again, there we are sitting at the top of the page. Sports injury Orpington, and again, we get huge results on this. You can see that spread with pictures down the side. Now, Orpington sports massage, again, we come up second on this, so we're getting good ratings. But sports physio Orpington, there we are at the top. So these are what I perceive, and there are ways that we can find out the key search terms, but these are what I perceive to be some of the biggest search terms. And you can see that all barring one, and the sports massage one is an interesting one because it's less of what we do, and the person who's number 1 on that one actually has Orpington sports massage as their title, so it's difficult to rank against that one, but we are coming out on the top of all those things. So that's why for us, the understanding of the SEO and what that brings to us is incredible, really. So yeah, so that's SEO. Let's move on to social media. And again, really when I'm going through these things, I'm probably putting them in some rough order. I think you want to get word of mouth exactly right. And perhaps most importantly, then the referral networks, then the SEO, and then social media, which might surprise people because we can often see the benefits of social media, and this can be huge. Of course, we're all seeing the influencers out there, the people that are making millions and millions off of doing social media and creating huge exposure for their brands. So of course, it can be done well, but I think it works better in some industries than others, and it does take time. You have to be incredibly consistent with social media. You have to turn up, you have to post, you have to give interesting content for your demographic, for your audience. So it does take time. And there are so many platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, all these things. So do we do all of these? Do we do none of them? What's the right thing to do? Well, what we need to do is we have to prioritize our time. And as I said, a lot of how I've built my business has been as a side income. So I've ranked the other things as being more important because I've seen a bigger return in investment in terms of my time. Putting things into SEO, as you've seen from those previous results, has yielded me so much. Putting time into referral networks has meant that we work with over 25 sports organisations in the area referring clients to us. Building out our systems for word of mouth referrals, as I showed you, using email and text message marketing, brings in patients every single week. Social media is a little bit more difficult. And so what I choose to do is I automate my social media using some software that I plug content into, but then it keeps churning out that content and it saves me having to do it. But I see social media for us as more of a brand awareness tool. All of these value things that we're building with video and ebooks and all these things that I do believe are really important, I can automate those to be going out to our social media following. And our social media following does build. But what I don't want to do is come across that I'm this amazing influencer with thousands and thousands of followers, because that wouldn't be true. But I feel that's less important than some of the other things in our line of work. If I was talking to you about perhaps selling t-shirts or starting a clothing brand for a particular demographic, then I might think very differently. But what it is very good for, as I said, is building brand awareness, recycling content, getting content out there, because again, the difficult thing is that not everybody or not a lot of people see your content. So it allows us to keep that content going back out there to make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. But it has to be, eye-catching. So as I say, we like to get good content onto our social media. So here you see one of our more popular videos, which is the truth of how to remove Osgood-Schlatter's disease. So a kind of eye-catching thumbnail, And we want to make sure that we're giving good and relevant content. We work with a lot of people who suffer with this condition, so therefore it's a popular video. So that's an example of one of the things that we would typically look to get out across our social media platforms. Now, paid advertising was something that I alluded to earlier. Now, paid advertising is a very kind of, again, complex area. Again, it can be absolutely huge. The quest to absolutely nail paid advertising is a fantastic one, because if you can get it nailed, then it can be incredibly powerful for your business. But it isn't something that we have done for our sports injury clinics as yet, because yes, it can bring huge benefits, but it can also bring significant losses. And let me explain a little bit. So this is where we are paying for advertising on digital means. So there's Google ads, there's Facebook ads, there's LinkedIn ads, there's YouTube ads. Twitter has an advertising platform as well. So anytime that you're on Google and you search something, at the sort of top few results, you might see an ad written next to it in a square box. That means that if you click on that one, the person whose company that is paying per click. So it's what we call pay per click advertising. So again, I'm sure you scroll through Facebook and there's been things come up on your feed and it's got sponsored next to it. So as soon as you click on that, that person pays a fee. And it's quite complicated to work out what that fee is and who wins that fee with Google and who comes to the top of the advertising platforms. That's quite complicated, but essentially what paid advertising is where you are paying each time someone clicks. So there are huge advantages to this, because you can specifically target the clients you want. So you can say to Facebook, I want to put this ad to CrossFitters who live within 5 miles of my gym, who are between the ages of 25 and 35, whatever you might want to do. Or you can say on Google, I want anyone who searches how to remove back pain who live within 5 miles of my clinic. I want them to see my advert, which is an ebook about back pain, for example. So that can be incredibly powerful because you can target exactly the people you want. Before we had this, you had things like billboard or TV or radio, but it was much more difficult to really be targeting the people you want. You can drill down into detail to make sure that your ads are only appearing to the people who you want them to see. But you are paying each time someone clicks, so you have to convert. And we see this done badly a lot, is that, for example, if you run an ad and then send it to your main generic website, people can't instantly find what they want. So again, if you have an ad that says how to remove back pain and you send them just to your physio page, perhaps that's not what they want. What they want to be doing is taken to a page with some value about how to remove back pain. So it is vital that so many systems all link up, because you have to convert these people because you're paying. And if you're not converting them, then it can become a very costly thing, which is why so far we've put more of our time into all the other things because they're free. But that's not to say I'm not going to do this in the future, because it can be so powerful when it's done right. But as I say, where this is a side income for me, I prioritize my time with the other things in the order that I've mentioned. So the second system then, so that's the first system. We have to get people in the door. Then what we have to do is we have to keep people. And we do this by what I call providing value, understanding their why, using objective data, communicating to them correctly, and not being afraid to sell. And I'm going to cover all of these points now. So we have to provide value. So remember, it's like anything, it's not how much something costs, but it's what value it can bring. Okay, so let me see, you potentially don't drive the cheapest car you could find to get you from A to B, but you don't mind paying a little bit more because you perceive it brings you value. So anything in life isn't about what something costs, but the value that it brings to you. So again, it might be that you could have a filter coffee at home quite cheaply, but actually you like to go to Starbucks because it makes you feel better and you enjoy the social experience where you meet up with your friend and grab a coffee. Okay, so you're paying more, but it's bringing you more value. Now, not that I'm saying that you have to pay more. We don't charge high prices, but what we look to do is, if we see any limitations to our business, is we sort of negate or balance those out by bringing huge value. And again, you can bring huge value without having to cost you too much money. So what I always look to do is find as much value as I can, as much value as possible at a justifiable cost. What I want to be is be an experienced business. So before somebody even gets into our door. I want them to have been sent an email introducing the clinic. They get text message with a video from me welcoming to them and answering some commonly answered questions. I want to be able to tell them why we think that we are going to be able to help them with their problems, so that they're actually excited to get in the door. But I do this all very cheaply using automation. But what it does is it gives them so much value. They see their experience with us as so much more than just their appointment time. And again, we then follow up with a rehabilitation program. So before they're home, they receive a rehabilitation program with pictures and videos of their exercises. And all this is done very cheaply compared to the amount of value that it brings to them. And it really makes us stand out. So as I said, we use nurturing emails, we use text message marketing, we use rehabilitation programs. So these are just examples of what we do in order to give people as much value. Now, this is something that I feel very passionate about, understanding somebody's why. And whenever I'm working with my staff or new staff, or what you might term training, is that I think the biggest thing is for every client, we have to understand their why. As I said, this was an absolute game changer for me and my clinic. It was the biggest thing that we train our staff in, because people don't just want to be out of pain. Let me set the scene. People might come in and say, right, how are we looking to help you today? And they say, well, I really want to get rid of my back pain. Say, okay, why? They say, well, I don't want to be in pain anymore. Okay, but it's an obvious answer, but it's not enough for me. I say, why? And they say, oh, well, I don't know. I say, well, when does it hurt? And they say, well, I always notice it when I'm sort of reaching down to put my socks on. Okay, okay. So typically then, what are you looking to, when do you notice it? When you're putting your socks on? Oh, it's when before I'm going out for a run. Oh, okay. So you want to be able to run? Yeah, I really enjoy running. Are you able to run at the moment? No, because my back's been hurting me for so long. So that's their why. But what that allows me to do is then drill down everything about my time with them to be getting them back to their running. It's not just, they don't want to be rid of pain, they want to be running. Again, so there are so many ways. It might be to help people train for a marathon. It might be to get people playing football. It might be to help people sleep because they're not able to sleep due to their pain, and that's affecting their everyday life. Or it might be that they want to play with their grandchildren or to be mobile as they move through the ages. But what we have to do is take time to understand someone's why. For me, this is the most important concept, and these are some of the things we learn to do: subjective and objective assessments, and we learn to, ask some questions related to their past medical history, and we learn to test their range of motion and test their strength. But what we don't do is go further to understand their why, to connect with them at a level that allows them to connect with us. So as I said, it needs to be understood from the initial conversation, and every bit about their session, no matter if they have 1, 2, 5, 10, 50 appointments with us, everything about that appointment time needs to be geared back to getting them towards their why, getting them to their end goal. So, and this is a classic example for me of the skills, as I said, that we just aren't taught. We just aren't taught to drill down to this level, to understand people as people. We understand them from a medical point of view, but we need to understand them from an emotional point of view, an emotional level. And as I say, it's the way we talk about this in marketing quite a lot, and if you read into marketing a little bit more, is that people don't want to buy a drill. What they want to do is buy a drill that can create the hole to hang up the picture. So if somebody goes into a shop and you think they just want to buy a drill, it's not what they want. Their why, equivalent to that, is to be able to hang the picture. And that's how we have to speak to people. There's no point talking to that person and telling them everything that's fantastic about the drill. But if you tell them how beautifully it can hang the picture of their family, that's when they will get the drill. I hope that makes sense for you. Objective data. Now, I'm someone, as you can see here, I love stats. I really, really enjoy stats. That's one of my geek moments. I hold my hands up to that. But it turns out my clients do too. And I think everybody to a certain extent likes stats. So what objective data allows us to do from a sports injury sort of practice or physiotherapy practice point of view is it allows us to demonstrate the problem and how the situation can be improved. So Whether this is range of motions, whether this is the amount of strength they can display, whether this is the amount of repetitions of an exercise that they can do, whether it's how long they can hold a stretch. What we look to do is set objective measures, because what we can do is we can then create targets, and this keeps people engaged. What I found is by setting objective data for people, they couldn't wait to get back for their follow-up appointment because they wanted to beat that score, whatever it was. So that for me was really important in giving the best service that I could, because it was demonstrating to people. I might have knew in my mind that we needed to improve their range of motion. We needed to improve the flexion of the hip or the internal rotation of the shoulder. But by giving them something physically to see and aim for, that got them engaged as well. So as I said, we commonly use flexibility strength testing to produce objective data, and I often say to my team that we should try and provide some form of objective data in every single appointment we can do. What can that person leave with? What measurable target can they leave with looking to achieve, to then come back and for us to then change or increase that target? And that's something I feel is really important in giving great value, the best possible service that we can provide. So, and what this does from a business point of view, again, I want to be talking to you as a business owner rather than the therapist, is that can start to increase your client visit average. You know, someone who might have come to see you 2 or 3 times now comes 5 times, 6 times, because they want to they feel part of this journey of what you're looking to achieve. So, you know, increasing their client visit average, the amount of times they visit you, is probably the most important metric for any business. You know, people often think it's, well, how many people do we get in? It's not so much that if you just get one person in, but they only come once and you have to keep finding new people, that won't grow a business. But if you get that one person in, and instead of seeing them 3 times, you see them 6 times, that's going to have huge effects upon your business. So objective data is something I feel is really important. Again, communication. Now, this is something I suppose that could be considered to be obvious, but keeping people, it's so important that we're communicating in the right way. And we say that actions speak louder than words. And for me, perhaps I'm not quite so sure on that. You know, I find that with my new staff, I spend 90% of my time training them in what they should say, not what they do. Let me tell you something now. You have the skills to be an expert practitioner and to be the clinical lead in a £100,000 clinic. I know you have those skills, but what you need probably to work on, what I certainly did, and I'm still learning, is the communication skills. How I was communicating with my clients, and importantly, at important times, what I'm communicating. We are taught these great hands-on skills. We have those. And I think the tendency I see is in new practitioners or new business owners is they think the key to building their business is learning more hands-on skills. I disagree with that. You have the hands-on skills to get to the point that I've mentioned. What you need to do is learn the communication skills. So communication needs to be clear, concise, and in layman's terms. You know, I've had examples of where I've been working with a new member and I've heard them say to someone, like, what we want to do is we're going to be increasing the flexibility for your posterior chain. And it was exactly correct information. But when I started them afterwards, I said, what do you think that person takes from that? They don't understand what you mean by the posterior chain. But if you simply say, here's the amount of hip flexion you can have at the moment, which is showing us how flexible your hamstrings are, I want you to get it to that. I want you to go from there to there. Currently, I give you a 7 out of 10. I want to get you a 10 out of 10 because that's going to take the pain away from your lower back. So that's just a different form of communication, but it keeps people engaged. It makes them say, well, that makes sense to me. So next week when I come back, I want to get to a 10 out of 10, rather than I need to improve my posterior chain. It's the same information to a certain extent, but what we need to be doing is making sure we're communicating it in the right way. And this must come back to their why. So all the time you need to be talking about them. So what I said then, we need to have the ability to then say, if you increase your hip flexion, it will take the pressure off of your lower back. And when your pressure is not in your lower back, you'll find that you won't be getting that pain on 2 or 3 miles, but you can go and run that 10K that we set about doing. So there, they are completely invested in understanding, but that has all come back from communication. My hands-on skills there have been irrelevant, but what I've got is the correct communication to keep people engaged. And that's why that's really important. And then system 3, getting people back. So we need to get people back. It's all very well getting people in, giving them great value, but any business relies on repeat customers. So important. So in they come, get great value, then we send them back so they carry on getting that great value. So what do we need to do here? Well, right from the word go, we need to build a list. Now, this was one of the biggest mistakes that I made. I used to have paper-based forms. People would come in and fill them out. And I thought at one point, I'm going to put all that information into a list. And it built up and up and up and up. And then I went to set and do it. And what had happened? So this real life example, had it all written by hand. I could not read their handwriting. They were probably typos that I made. I got false email addresses and I was never able to communicate with those people. Huge, huge mistake, because I had small-minded syndrome, that I was kind of thinking that I wasn't big enough to be doing all these things. But from your very first customer, you should be collecting that data, so it's very easy for you to automatically be able to communicate with them. It was a huge, huge mistake. When people ask me about mistakes, that's why my biggest one. And it's one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of business cards, because again, people talk to me about business cards, but if somebody says, can I have a business card, and I pass them the business card, they may contact me. But I want to do that in reverse. Somebody says, can I have a business card? I'd like to say, I tell you what, can I take your details and then I will contact you with some information about us? Why? Because then I've got their details, so I can carry on communicating with them. I've got the control over the next step in that communication, and I can give them as much value as I want to do. Rather than just giving them a business card, I can say, you know what, oh, you mentioned it's because you've got that knee pain. I've got a video on knee tips, and I've got a free information guide that I can send you. Do you mind if I send you that? Giving them value, giving them some expert authority. They're going to be much more likely to come into as a client. So that's why I have business cards for people that want to take them, because people still say, can I have a card? But for me, if somebody's asking me, I always want their details. So if somebody asks me for a business card, I say, oh, who's it for? And I say, oh, it's for my brother. Oh, what's he got? He's got a bad knee. Then I take his information and send that. Do you see that difference in the importance of this building a list, building data all the time? And when you know how, it can all be done automatically. So I don't do anything to collect the telephone numbers, email addresses of anyone who books into our clinic. It's all done via our systems, which again, inside our membership portal is something which I open up and show you exactly how I do that and how you can do that very easily. So I don't do anything by hand, because as I say, when it comes to doing things by hand, it's slow. And if it's come to writing and stuff, you get written errors and things. So it can all be done automatically without you being aware of it. And the follow-up, there's a phrase again that goes around the marketing world, which is the fortune is in the follow-up. Following up to people is how we get people back. So no business, as I said, can survive without repeat customers. We have to be continuing to speak to them. And as I said, one of the very most important metrics in any business is what we call their lifetime value. How many times someone is transacting with your business. And if you increase that number, you increase your business. It's as simple as that. So it's not good enough to just be serving someone once. We have to carry on following up with them. And particularly in our business, I hate to think of anyone going away from our clinic and we've just not followed up with them. Even if we think they're fine and they're healthy and they're good to go, we have automatic systems to follow up with those people. We have it set that we followed up after 1 week, 3 months, 6 months and a year to be automatically communicating. So as injury therapists, this is probably our negative, and why we might have gone into a bad business, dare I say it, because if we do a good job and help people, they leave our business. If you're a good hairdresser, somebody then comes and sees you repeatedly every 4 to 6 weeks. If you're a good beautician, that's what happens. So in some ways, that's probably one of the negatives for our business. So the following up with people, the constant communicating with them afterwards is even more important for us. And we try to make this as personal as possible. So we use email, we use SMS, and we use calls. And probably that's in increasing personable ways. So an email, very easy to set up. So we can constantly be automating that to be speaking to people. But I think people become more aware of that. It's less personable. SMS, I think, has much better open rates. People are less used to getting text messages. But for us to be able to have systems to follow up people easily, to send them a message, say, how have you been since the last appointment? We find we get a lot more return from that. And we also have a calling system in place as well. Very easy to do from our systems to see who hasn't been in. But all these things are set up so that we can constantly be talking to people. And I feel this is vital for any business to be making sure that we are following up. And we do this, as I say, by using automation. So this sounds like a lot of things, but when I look back on it, not using automation cost me thousands, because I didn't do this for a very long time. So the amount of people that walked away from my business, and they might be thrilled with the service, but I now would be talking to those people constantly. They would be getting some sort of value from me every week, following their time. And that's where people might not see me 3, 4, 5 years, but then they come back. Or then all of a sudden I'll get a recommendation and I'll say, oh, somebody saw you years ago, but I've now got this problem and they said about you, because I now carry on talking to them. So if only I would have been doing that from the start, my business would be 2, 3, 4, 5 times the size that it is now. But that's why it's so important that you understand this concept of being able to do these things automatically. So as I said, we now contact every single person who hasn't rebooked an appointment with us with 5 days of their appointment. So this happens automatically. I don't do this, but the system knows that if somebody hasn't rebooked, it's been 5 days since their last appointment, so they fire them an email to ask how they're getting on. So, and then we also look to do other automation. So once someone has their first appointment with us, we contact them a year afterwards to say it's been their anniversary. Or we follow up with people if they don't respond to the 5 days at 3 months, 6 months intervals since their last appointment. So, and a year. So we're constantly talking to people. And it gives us the opportunity to provide discounts, offers if we want to. But for me, it's more important that we're touching base with them, asking them how their problem is, and if there's anything more that they need from us. So it's, we get, as I mentioned before, I've spoken about this, but we find that the more helpful we can be with making it a more personal approach, and again, we have lots of tips and tricks, even with automation, in personalising that, so people really feel valued, they really feel part of your brand, part of your business, and it's so important that we're following up well. And one of my favourite things for me is I suddenly get all these emails back or text messages back that I don't even know I've sent. And I suddenly get these responses to say, it's been great actually, or even better is, I've been meaning to book an appointment, can I get that appointment booked now? And then we have systems for them to just go online and book. So one of my favourite things is that I might wake up in the morning and suddenly an appointment's booked off the back of an email that was automatically sent by a system the day before, which has triggered somebody to book back in. Perfect. All that happened literally whilst I slept. So then another way to bring people back into the business is to use offers. It's not something I do a lot. And the reason I don't do it too much is that we provide so much value, and I feel that we're actually very cost effective for the value that we bring, that I don't feel I need to do that a lot. But having said that, having a list and having automation allows you to do that so very easily. So it can be fantastic to generate revenue, but you have to know that your patient lifetime value is very strong. So for example, if we know that getting somebody in first time, they're going to get a 50% discount, for example. If they come once on that £50 discount, that's bad business there, that we might actually lose money on that by the time we cover our costs. But if we know we're going to get that person for 4 or 5 times, then we know it's worth doing at the front end in order to get them for the full. And this is where it's starting to think like a business owner. What is the return of your investment? And that's what you really want to be understanding. So definitely you can use offers, but you've got to know that your patient lifetime value is strong. So we do this with automations. They work well with offers. So it might be January is a good time we find when people are looking to get fit and healthy in the new year. Birthdays, very easy way. We can send out a voucher to someone for a little bit of discount on their birthday to book an appointment with us. And we also do it as an anniversary present. So we say it's been a year since you first came to our clinic. We'd love to offer you a present. Here's 50% off. But again, we know that our average value for somebody to see us in a year is 4.6 appointments. So even if I send that and people come in and pay half price for the first appointment, I know they're probably going to come for at least 3 more appointments after that. But I only know that by understanding our metrics. So, and again, what I don't like and sometimes see business is constant offers going out. Here's another offer, here's another offer, here's another offer. Me personally, that screams a little bit of desperation for me. And I want to remember that you are an expert. So I don't want you, I've talked about offers because it is a system for bringing people back in, but I don't want you to devalue your skills either. So system 4, which I've alluded to, is all of this comes back to knowing your metrics. And this is probably the nitty gritty of this webinar, this is where we become business owners. This is the stuff that we just haven't touched before, and the stuff that, yes, I geek out on, but it's taken me a long time to learn. But this is where you go from perhaps being a one-man operation to actually having the ability to run a business. Because until you know these things, these concepts that we're going to talk about, knowing your metrics, knowing what your gross and net profits are, knowing all of your costs and understanding the compound effect, that's the only time we can really start to grow a business. So Firstly, I mentioned you have to know your metrics. So as I said, you become a business owner when you know your metrics. It's not just someone having a job. What you all of a sudden can do is stop trading time for money. And this is such a huge concept. You know, all the time you're working for yourself and you're trading time for money. But as soon as you start to understand your metrics a little bit more, all of a sudden you can start earning money even when it's not you. So here's a crazy concept, is that you could build your clinic as a side income, and if you know your metrics, you don't actually even have to work in it, and you can make money and profit. So, but you can't do that until you think like a business owner. So let me give you some examples then of some of the metrics that we see as being really important for our business. Of course, the amount of appointments that we're doing per day, per week, per month. The amount of appointment type, so are they 60 minutes, are they 30 minutes? We also have a discounted appointment for our subscribe clubs that I mentioned. So we need to know those types and how many we're doing of each and what percentage. The amount of new appointments we had. Again, system number one, getting people into your business. This is an important metric. We need to know the percentage of people who have rebooked, another important metric, and then the number of new people that rebooked. So of all the new people we got in, what was their percentage? So what is our general rebooking rate and what is our new person rebooking rate? And then the patient lifetime value. So if we see one person, how many times are we on average going to see that person? Because that's what really allows us to know what we can invest in that person. And so that's what's really, really important. Now, our systems that we have in place allow us to generate all of these metrics. So I see them and I monitor these weekly and potentially daily using a digital dashboard that is something that I've built, and it shows me all the metrics inside of a Google Sheets that I need to know and be following. And me as the business owner, that's what's really allowed us to grow. So as I say, that's our dashboard here. Gross and net as well. So it's important to know revenue, yes, and then you need to know your gross profit and your net profit. So revenue is one thing, and I've spoken about £100,000 revenue, but if the business costs me £110,000 a year, then that's not good business. What I need to know is my gross profit and my net profit. And so revenue is the total amount of money you've received, and then the gross profit is the amount of profit after your costs. So once you put rent and supplies and equipment that we might have. So that's where we're starting to see how much profit we've made. And then we've got other things that come in. So the amount of tax that we then need to pay. So that's something that is often missed, but that's our net profit. And that's our true what we've gained for that appointment. So it might be that if an appointment was £50, but we've spent £10 on rent and £5 on equipment, for example, making up numbers here, but we get a gross of say £35. Then we take our tax off and our net profit might be £25. So we get a 50% revenue there. Net profit to revenue relationship. So I dive into this much more inside our membership portal. So I'm not going to go too much into it, but this is how you need to be thinking, and getting the systems in place allows this all to be shown to you. But one vital thing that any business has to know is to know their costs. So a key metric for you to understand as you look to scale your business is that you have to know your costs. You have to know every single cost, and you have to know it for our business per patient. So I know how much we spend on couch roll per patient. I know how much we spend on oil per patient, and it might be 1p, but I factor that into our cost, how much rent costs us per patient, because this allows us to set our prices. This allows me to know that I'm making good revenue, good gross profit and good net profit. But unless I understand my cost, I can't formulate these metrics. I hope that makes sense. So really a simple model for formulating your price is how much do you want to make per time period. So if it's a half an hour appointment, how much do you want to earn per half an hour? Then add it to the cost per patient, and that's our price. So if we know how much something costs and we know how much we want to earn, then we add those two things together and there's our price per appointment. And then we can work out our net profit as well and make sure we're happy with that. And then it just scales up. Once we know this per patient, we just scale it up through however many patients we want to do. But we know as we scale, we're not going to run into difficulties if we're following this model. And that's why it's so important. So, and one thing I love to do is document all our costs, because then I can look to drive them down. And when you see them in front of you, it's really interesting that you can look to drive some of those costs down. I'm constantly looking at how we can reduce the cost of oil. We can reduce the cost of couch roll. For us currently, we've got extensive PPE costs. So constantly analysing how much we're spending on gloves and aprons and masks, and looking to just drive all those costs down. Because when those savings are scaled between all the patients we see, it's really big for our net profit and gross profit. And the other thing that's so important to remember, and this is why I think the clinics that we're looking to build are perfect for side income, is because we have to understand the compound effect. These things do take time. Anyone who just tells you you're going to launch a clinic and you're going to be earning, a huge living from it within a week, I don't believe. I haven't known anyone to do that. I think we need to take time, and you need to keep your goals realistic. As I say, for me, it's taken me quite a while to achieve my dreams. As I said, it took me 12 years in the making, but I didn't know the things I know now. I could easily have halved that time, probably made that a third of the time if I understood what I do now. So that's what I'm looking to cut out for you. But what I have found is that when you're doing things correctly, and again, I've seen the phrase that innovation leads for transformation. So when you're innovating your business and you're improving these things, it transforms so much more quicker. So if you can now take this knowledge from this webinar and understand these 4 systems and drop them into your clinic and start building upon them, everything will happen so much more quickly for you than it did for me. I guarantee that. So if when you start, here what I've got is a working example, so if you look to do 1 appointment a day and grow by 20% each year, year 1 you would do 365 appointments, that's doing 1 a day. Year 2 you do 438, this is say by giving yourself a target of growing by 20%, which is what we look to do as a clinic. We look to grow by at least 20 to 25% every year, and that's something that we've achieved and more so. Year 3, you do 525. Year 4, 613. Year 5, 756. So all of a sudden, in 5 years, you have grown your business by 100%. And that was just starting with 1 a day. Okay, so you can scale that. But as I say, the effects of compound is huge then when these things are added up and added up. So what you want to be doing is documenting your numbers to see this growth. Here's mine, for example. So here's my numbers scaled back over the last 8 years, and you can see this power of compound effect. But something that I highlighted to my team is if we always jump back 3 years, our business has grown 100%. Every time. It's always happened. We had growth in 2020, which was amazing because we were shut for 3 months of it. So if we hadn't been shut for 3 months, it would have been so much higher even than that. So that's why this effect is just so important. And the question I now have for you is, how comforting would it be to know that your business will grow by 100% every 3 years because of this power of compound effect when you're doing things well? So I know for my business in 2022, we will do 9,000 appointments. Simple as that, because it's following the compound effect. Now, I have thrown in a caveat that I wasn't expecting to put in, which is COVID-19 dependent. So I need to see the effects of COVID-19 and the continued effects of COVID-19. But we have still managed to grow even through that. So I'm still confident that we can be achieving that. But that gives me comfort in all the things I'm looking to do and improve and constantly working at. I know that that is what awaits me in the future. How comforting would that be for you? And this has all been made possible by systems. So I hope that has been helpful so far, and that's my question for you. And I want you just to answer that. Tell me that, has this been helpful for you so far? If I've taught you one thing that you didn't know already, that would be fantastic. But hopefully I've given you lots of value, things you didn't know so far. And so would you like this? Would you like a business that allows you to work with your dream clients and use your skills? My aim has been to motivate you in order to go and do this, go and take this information and start your own clinic. So what I ask for you is, would you be interested? So what I've done is explained all of those concepts and how I put them into my business. But what I want to do is fully open my doors to you and show you exactly how I use these systems in our business. Well, if you think that all those things, if you've answered yes to all those questions, what I would look to do is encourage you to join our membership tribe. And this is what I want to, and I've called it our membership tribe because I want to build a tribe. I want to build a tribe of people that fight back. One of my frustrations, I think, is we have incredible hands-on skills that are simply just not valued. Not valued. We don't get the value we deserve. We can't really work in the level that we can with private healthcare, for example. And as a result, it is more difficult, but we can overcome these things. I don't want you just to have to settle for working long hours for underpaid. I want you to form part of our tribe that really grows and gets your skills out there, because you can do those things. So what it does when you join our tribe is it allows you to access our membership club. Let me explain a little bit more of that. Once you join our membership club, you have access to our portal, and each week I will be dropping in a lesson that will help you take your business towards a six-figure business. It is a lesson in order of how I would, if I'm starting again, if I had to start a clinic from scratch, the exact steps that I would take to build a clinic to six figures within a year. So we deliver these 50 lessons in order to allow you to scale up towards that. So these are lessons that have taken me 12 years to learn. And what I want to do is try and take those 12 years and put them into 1 year for you, fast tracking your way to success and setting you on this snowball, this compound effect of growing your business up towards six figures and beyond, like I am. I've hit six figures now, but I'm certainly not stopping. You know, I want to be aiming for seven figures. So the big thing I'm saying as well is these lessons aren't concepts or theory. Hopefully you've seen this a little bit from my webinar here, is that I don't want to give you fluff. I want to give you actual actionable tasks. So within these lessons, when I've got a bit more time to working with you, and each lesson is, you know, anywhere from sort of 15 to 30 to 45 minutes, where I actually show you exactly what I do in our business, exactly the system I use, exactly the email content I send, exactly the text message marketing I do, exactly how I build our website, exactly how I improve SEO, and much, much more. So what I do is I teach you one of these concepts, teach you about building a virtual clinic, an online shop, extra forms of revenue that you can be getting into your business, and then I give you a task to implement it directly into your business. So you will sit down, consume the content in the way that you've consumed this webinar. You know, I will show you working examples of exactly how we do it, and then you can go and do that into yours. So, and each lesson is specific to being an injury therapist. So there will be things, for example, on marketing, on copywriting, on these types of things. So these general skills, but they're all going to be related to being an injury therapist, a physiotherapist, sports injury therapist, sports massage therapist. And I am going to be there delivering each of those lessons. So all of them come from me, from how I've implemented it in my business. So I'm there to help you every step of the way. And if you need or want further consultation, I will be there to help you achieve your dreams and form part of our tribe. And so what's the result? Well, at the end of that year, you will have a business with all of these things that we have talked about in place. All 4 of these systems, every aspect of the system that I've discussed will be in place in your business. As I say, ready to scale it to whatever you want to achieve. So, and at this point, at the end of the year, you can carry on and you can move into our inner circle and you can be working with like-minded people, working with mentors and fellow colleagues to continue to develop yourself professionally, or you can take your business, you can take your systems and scale it, as I said, to whatever you like. So what's included? Access to our membership site. As I said, you get access to our private Facebook group. And this again will allow you to be speaking and taking information from others who are going through the exact same things that you are. So what it's all about for me is getting more people. I love communicating, and I'm going to talk about this at the end, but I love communicating with people who think the same way as us. You know, it's one of my frustrations that I seek out these people because I take passion from speaking to similar people. There's 50 delivered lessons with clear action points for you to put into your clinic, all delivered by me. It's got the ability to fast track you through my 12 years of learning into 1 year of learning. So the cost, as I alluded to at the start, it's £1 per day, £31 per month. So if you were watching this webinar and you were hoping to see Lamborghinis and then being sold a £5,000 program at the end, that isn't what this is. It is a entry level cost, just £1 per day. Shocked, are you? Well, why have I done this? Because I've never been someone that charged high prices, and I'm very transparent with my prices. Go onto my clinic websites now, you'll see the pricing and you will see that they are not high. Okay, what I like to do, as I've said, how I've built my business, my clinics, is by providing value, and that's exactly what I want to do for you. The way I see it, if I can give you what I see as fair value, I think that then that is the way to go. My passion is in giving value. I want to deliver this content to you, and I want you to then be telling me how much it's doing for your practice. And when you think of it, this is less than the cost of a cup of tea a day. And so my big question is, do you think that if you had that access and you were spending £1 a day, it would bring you 1 extra appointment a month? Because that's all it's got to do. Remember when I spoke about what something costs? Earlier I said, what something isn't about what something costs, it's about how much value it brings. And this is thinking like a business owner. What is your return of your investment? And whether that's a financial investment or whether that's time. So what is the return of you spending £1 a day So £31 a month, and then maybe spending an hour to 2 a week on building that into your business. Is that going to bring you more than one appointment a week? Because at £31, if it brings you more than one appointment a month, it's paying for itself, and it's a great return on investment. I can guarantee you it's going to do more than that. Of course, I'm sure already you probably feel confident in the fact that having all this in your business will bring you much more than that. And as a result, it's a great return on investment is how I see it. But there is a little bit more. Okay, hopefully that was good. But this is an introductory price. As I say, this is we're looking to find our founding members, and I want this to be you. But I am unable to guarantee that this price will remain, because it is far lower than any other sort of membership program that I see. But what I'm looking to do is to say, I'm really keen to start meeting as many. As I said, for me personally, I love meeting people who think like me, who have the passion like me and want to learn like me. So for the first 50 members, once you sign up, I will do a free of charge Zoom call with you to have a chat about your circumstances, understand your clinic. We can talk about whether the program's going to be good for you, and talk about anything that you want to know on top of the program as well. So that's for our first 50 members. Once you sign up and start the program, you can take that on with me. So act now, and let's look to build your dream clinic. And remember, it's a monthly cost. I'm not asking you to pay much up front, because at any point you can stop this. You can absolutely stop this. If you start it and you think it's not bringing you value, if you think it's not bringing you more than one appointment a month, just stop it, and you haven't really lost too much money. And that's why I want to make it just great value for you to jump on board, because I am so confident that it will bring you much more value than that. And I will even personally guarantee, as I say, this for me is not about anything shady or anything scammy. If you email me and say, John, I started the program, I'm a month in, and it's not what I thought it was going to be, you will be refunded your money with no questions asked. That is not what it's about. I'm so confident in the value it can bring, and hopefully you've seen I'm so passionate about what we can bring that I think for me it's just about building a tribe that we can all be working together and scaling up our clinics. So quick summary of what you'll receive in case it hasn't been clear. Introductory, 5 videos. Sorry, this is one other bonus that I didn't mention. When you start the program, there are some free videos available to you. And they talk about mindset, the mindset of being a business owner. Why have I put these first, and why have I made them free? Well, the reason being, I want you to get a concept of what I'm going to be talking about and how I deliver the program. But this was the thing that changed for me. Once I got the mindset right, as I said, I had the hands-on skills, you had the hands-on skills. It's the mind that we have to get right. So I deliver 5 free lessons on that for you. I look to give some further free introductory ones on some of the basics that you might have in place, but 3 more videos that are delivered free when you start the program are on choosing your venue, your name and your logo. So really the bare minimum that you need to get going, but we talk about the pros and cons of each of the method of choosing these things. So really helpful content. Even if you think you have your name, your logo and your venue all established, I would really encourage you to watch those videos, because it goes through some of the things that I was choosing and actually some of the things that I've done wrong. And that's the advantage of this program. I can talk about the things that I've done wrong and would have changed if I had my time again. Then we get going and I deliver 50 weekly lessons with video training. And here we look to give examples of, as I say, how I apply these methods to my clinic. And they will be delivered to you once a week. So the principle is that you take on that content and then you then deliver that session once a week. You take that lesson and you deliver that into your clinic, apply that principle into your clinic, and the following week the next one comes. The result, as I said, in 1 year's time, all of those systems are in place. So a small investment of your time, but it condenses all of that learning, things that probably take me months to learn, condensed it into getting that through to you in 1 week. And if you don't get something done that week, you can get, it can be reviewed at any time. It doesn't disappear. We also, as I mentioned, give you free access to our private members Facebook group, because I think that's really important. Yes, you'll be getting the lessons from me, but you might like to speak to people who are starting out, who are following the program, who are at the same level as you. Asking questions of them as well as me could be really helpful for you. So that's one where I see as priceless. I don't put monetary value on that. And as I say, there will be an introductory Zoom call for the first 50 people to sort of discuss what you're looking for and your hopes and dreams. And as I say, so all of that sort of tops up to a value of nearly £3,000. And as you've seen, it's £1 a day. So yours for just £31 a month. So what you would have seen is some information to go and join our portal. So what I would do is click on that link. You can read into a bit more detail about it there. But if you think that this has given you good value and you want to dive in and see exactly how I've implemented the systems into our business, the software we use, the tips and tricks we use, the communication methods we use, then I would encourage you to jump into that portal. And if the portal's not for you, not a problem. As I say, for me, it's about getting value. So I really, really hope that from this webinar, you've taken some things that you can take into your career. Let me know, drop me an email, reach out to me. But as I say, if you want to join up, be one of those first 50 members, because I'd love to chat to you on Zoom and hear about your hopes and dreams. But again, feel free just to check out any information you have, and I'd love to welcome you upon the tribe. But most importantly, I'd love to just thank you for the time you've taken in watching this webinar. If this can help you scale towards your dreams as it's helped me doing, then I would be absolutely thrilled to know that I've done that. Thank you for your time, and that covers everything that we wanted to talk about. To finish, I just wanted to say one of my favourite mottos, and again, I always remember this one because it stopped me dead when I was out for a run when I first heard it. Jim Rohn said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this made me that head explode moment, because I was like, wow, if you want to get better at football, spend time with 5 people who are better than you at football. If you want to lose weight, spend time with 5 people who are really good at losing weight. What will be the result? You'll be better at football and you'll be better at losing weight. And when I thought about this at business, I realised that I wasn't spending my time with the right people who shared my ambitions and dreams. So I actively went to seek out those 5 people, and that's what propelled me. So I want to be one of those people for you, and I want to welcome you into our group where you'll find those people who will drive you forward so much quicker. And that was why it was an incredibly powerful quote. So thank you for your time, and I really look forward to working with you going forwards.